And it's my Taco Bell. Our official sponsor from today's show is not Taco
Not
Bell.
Taco Bell.
Yeah.
But we'd be open to it, right?
We'd be open
Pretty
to
awesome.
it.
We'd all be chomping on a double layer gordita.
I'll Kiero some Taco Bell if they want to host our show.
If they want to
You want to
sponsor our show,
sponsor? I
I'll
can
throw
send you
down some
Kiero
nachos Bel
Taco
Grande.
Bell.
I'll throw down some nachos Bel Grande for that.
Shell,
Oh,
you
yeah.
are at a very. Oh, there we go.
I what?
Nothing.
Oh, no, a Mexican pizza. Like you either love it or you hate it.
Never heard of it.
At Taco Bell?
Mm-mm.
You never had the Mexican? You're a liar.
I've never heard of Mexican pizza.
They don't sell Mexican pizza at your Taco Bell?
I don't know if they don't sell it. I've never heard of it, and I haven't bought it.
Chris?
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, I know it. But
Okay.
it's been a long time
Okay.
since
I
I've
thought
talked
John was pulling my string.
Just being
No.
honest, I haven't had Taco Bell in a long time.
Oh, there we go. We got some people jumping in. I was on the wrong chat side. What's going on, Pixie? Hello, Michelle. Hello, Tracy. Hello, Wirehead. Hope everybody's having a great day and staying warm because I am in the Carolinas and I am freezing.
Yeah.
It's like 32 degrees. We're getting slush falling from the sky, this crystalline cold stuff.
It's dark. You can't see. We're covered in snow and it's 9. Look at
Oh,
you.
9 inches?
Degrees.
9 degrees?
It was 9 degrees this morning.
That sounds cold. I bet it's, wow, that's cold.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yesterday the sun was out. It was pretty though because the sun was out, melted a lot of the snow on the trees. Then it froze overnight, so the trees were all crystalline, and it was very pretty.
We're 28.
what?
That's cold.
Mexican pizza is a must. It's right in there. See?
Tracy, you're a liar. I got a question for you.
Or the chili cheese
I-
burrito.
The
Nobody
whole
heard of
Mandela effect thing doesn't. The Mandela effect, I think, is amusing. You know, oh, Tom Cruise's shirt was really pink. I kind of remember it being white. Big deal. You're misremembering it.
Right.
Berenstain Bears, you mispronounced it. It was always Stain. I don't buy into any of it. I got one today that rocked me to my core.
What?
Who makes or who made when we were kids stovetop stuffing?
Stovetop stuffing.
Yeah? Are you sure about that?
Probably not. No.
It's never been Stouffer.
Is
It's not
that
a thing. Today, it's owned by the Kraft Corporation. When we were growing up, I guess it was like General Mills. It's never been Stouffer stovetop stuffing. And I know for a fact it was. I remember tripping over my words trying to say it. I remember the catchphrase was, if it's not Stouffer, it's not stovetop stuffing. That all fake memories, apparently.
well, because that was the first word to come out of my mouth, and then I'm thinking, am I saying it right? Stovetop stuffing, you know what I mean?
Stovetop stuffing.
Yeah.
No.
It's never been Stouffer's.
In our timeline, it was. In the universe we grew up in, I'm not, people are disagreeing with me online, and I'm like, I'm not asking for your permission. I'm not even asking your opinion.
Like, I know this.
Yeah, I don't care what you're saying. In my timeline, in the universe that my people are from, it was Stouffer. I'm not asking you if you think it was. No, Kristen, it wasn't just stovetop. Again, maybe in your universe. But this is one it used to be where I grew up. In my timeline, in my universe, it was Stouffer. I can even see the little oval on the. I see it.
Like
Something's
this,
going
this
on.
is the hill you're dying on.
I'm telling you, I never bought into it, but now I'm thinking CERN is doing something, colliding atoms. Something is going on. Kevin says it's Stouffer's. It's all psyop against the Sexers. Laurel says it's Swanson. I don't know where you grew up, Laurel.
Whatever it was gross. So.
Stouffer. Yeah, see, other people are saying it.
It was General Foods. I found Michelle. What you found was an old commercial that today says that it was General Foods. You can't look it up to prove it because the timeline's changed. It's changed now. Believe me, I went into a very deep, dark rabbit hole today
to try to find it being Stouffer. I'm going to ask people that on my family, like who made Stouffer stovetop.
It's even the tongue twisting. John goes, in my timeline, it was Grandma's turkey dressing. Well, I didn't mean to sabotage the show. This one rocked me because I remember it being Stouffer's. There's no reason why I would even know who Stouffer's is beyond that.
No.
There are thousands of particle accelerators in operation worldwide today, Johnny says, not just CERN. Well, CERN did it. I'm blaming CERN. Hey, Doreen. All right. Sorry to hijack your episode, Chris. Just had to be said. You didn't weigh in. Do you not remember Stouffer's?
I just think any kind of dressing is disgusting. So the
You
stuffing.
shut your mouth.
We're talking about stuffing, right? Like the
Yes.
Yeah, dressing goes on a salad. This is stuffing.
Stuffing.
I like no stuffing. The two things that I cannot.
No,
stand,
I will. We don't put it in the turkey. That's disgusting.
No, the two things I can't stand at Thanksgiving: stuffing and sauerkraut.
Sauerkraut at Thanksgiving? What the hell are you talking
You almost made
about?
me throw up just thinking about it. Yes, there's sauerkraut at Thanksgiving.
No,
No, there's not.
Yes, there is.
what do you have hot dogs for Thanksgiving?
There's sauerkraut on New Year's. New Year's, pork and sauerkraut.
Sauerkraut. I look at sauerkraut and I want to yak. It's disgusting.
Pork and sauerkraut on New Year's. Do you do that, John?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, no.
New
This is in the Northeast, at least in
grew up in the
Pittsburgh.
Northeast, but no, don't take the whole Northeast with you.
Okay,
You don't have
Pittsburgh.
license to drag down the entire Northeast for your weird corn throwing, cowtail eating shenanigans.
And pot banging. Pot banging, New Year's Eve at midnight, you eat sauerkraut and pork. You take a bite of it, then you go outside and you get pots and you bang them together really loud in the neighborhood, ding, 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 with a wooden spoon or together. Like, yeah, that's what you do.
Here in the South, they let off a lot of fireworks, like an ungodly amount of fireworks.
Yeah. Yeah, my neighborhood was. I like fireworks, but it got a little nutty. A little bit.
The Germans are here, he said. Sauerkraut and
I don't know why we had it. We're not German, but it was there. It's disgusting.
I'm at a loss, Chris.
It's so
okay.
gross.
I'll take your word for it. Well, listen, 7 minutes and 17 seconds into our show, and we've already made fun of the way that Rochelle grew up and mentioned sauerkraut on New Year's Eve. So, I mean, there you go. The three of you.
Thanksgiving.
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 Did I say New
Yeah.
Year's? Yeah, you're banging pots on Thanksgiving, on New Year's Eve. I forgot. But anyway, welcome to the Three View Mirror, a weekly talk show filmed in front of a virtually live studio audience where the three of us Goonies get together and talk about three different topics from three different decades, the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. And hidden somewhere within that message is going to be a secret thread, something that binds those three together. But I need you all to listen to me right now. If you think you know that thread, if you're like, I know what the connection is, good. Shut up. Don't share it. We don't want to know until we ask you to tell us at the end of the episode. Because you know what? Smart kid raising your hand, and you're probably the kid that held the hand up with the other hand because you're just waiting to get called out. I was that kid too.
Mr. Kata.
But hold it till the end of the episode, and then we'll ask you what connects those three topics. Now, my name is John Catrides, better known as Gen X Jono across my social media platforms. I'm hosting here with two of my favorite friends. Guys, introduce yourselves.
I'm Rochelle O'Black, better known as Gen X Show. I've been on hiatus online for about 2.5 months now, but I'll be back. Check me out. Check out my old stuff. I'm always there.
And I'm Chris Clues, better known as Chris Clues, speaker and author, focusing on the life and work lessons that we can learn from 80s pop culture. The best ever.
And this is the Three View Mirror. Baby, what's your name? I saw Kevin at the end said it's Fletch. The connection is Fletch. Well, I don't know what the connection is, but the man who does is the man who's going to introduce his three topics. Today's host, Chris, the show is yours.
The Fletch shirt gave it away. Yeah, I wouldn't make it that easy. All right, so I'm excited about today because I'm excited about the connection and these three topics. And they're pretty. I think two are broad and one is very singular. Let's put it that way. So the three topics are Tom Petty, Nicolas Cage, and the intoxicating smell of Ditto paper. Tom Petty, Nicolas Cage, and the intoxicating smell of Ditto paper.
Nice.
I know the connection. It's three things that make me sick.
Really?
I hate Tom Petty. I hate Nicolas Cage. And I've always hated the smell of Ditto paper.
Oh, well,
Wait a minute. Whoa. I half listened to the last sentence and I tuned you out completely. You hated the smell of Ditto paper. What is wrong with you?
I don't know. It made me nauseous. Now, I loved being the kid that went to go get the Dittos. Like, I was the teacher's pet. Johnny, would you mind running down to the office and getting the Dittos? That was fun. I enjoyed that part of it. I just didn't like the smell of it.
Kevin, you asked me Fletcher, Spies Like Us, and I'll always go with Spies Like Us. That of the two, that's my favorite. Yeah, so these are the three. Since John hates them all, we can mute him. And then
I can still talk about it.
And the audience can be the third.
I can still talk about it.
And then John can just be quiet so he doesn't interrupt our
Well, listen, strong opinions are still commentary.
blasphemy. That's right, Kevin. It's blasphemy, Katritas.
They wanted Nicolas Cage to be Superman. Could you imagine a more horrendous thing on the face of the... Seriously, him replacing Christopher Reeve as Superman. Yeah.
I'm sure there's worse.
Who are we starting with?
We're going to start... Mr. Cotta.
Oh my God. I hate Tom Petty too.
No way. Really?
I did not like his voice.
Falling.
Tom Petty is a legend.
He's a legend. I will give him that. He is a superstar. He is a legend. He is classic. He belongs his place. He has a place. But I, for one, no, I could. As songs come on and I just, right, yeah. Flipped it.
All right. So we'll just focus on the people who do like Tom Petty because I love Tom Petty and he was a master musician. And why is somebody in my front yard?
It's Tom Petty. He found his only fan. It's out.
He's knocking on the door.
It's like they like me. He likes me. He really likes me.
Yeah, so I'm a huge Tom Petty fan, and I have been since the first time I heard him back with, I believe probably the first song I heard was probably Free Falling. So I got late into the game, but then I caught up later with all of his other stuff. Now, you guys don't like Tom Petty, so I'm just going to ask the audience what they think about Tom Petty. And Scott, you have to say that. So
hold on, I got more.
I mean,
there's more.
Why? I don't understand why you guys hate Tom Petty. Like, I'm confused. I'm really confused. Like, how you cannot like Tom Petty. Well, I'd like to know, like, what is it? Do you not like the music? Do you not like the?
I will say this. I was not a pop radio fan to begin with. I didn't, if it was on, I would listen to it. But for the most part, I wasn't a top 10 pop kind of a girl. And he was always on the radio. It was just always, and sorry, John, I'm going to say this out loud too. I don't like Phil Collins either. All right. Sorry.
Well,
sorry. Didn't like him. I'm not a fan of Phil Collins. But he was one of those, his voice just, I didn't like it. And I didn't like his songs. They didn't give me a vibe. They didn't give me a feeling. They didn't do anything for me. But then again, I mean, that's why we have such a wide variety of music and tastes. And I'm not taking anything away from the man or his talent, because he was talented.
I'll take his talent away. I didn't think he was talented. I didn't like his voice. And Traveling Wilburys, let's put two more people I couldn't stand in one group and have them whine together on the radio. I mean, Roy Orbison and Tom Petty. Who was the third one?
Bob Dylan? You don't like
Oh,
Bob
God.
Dylan? Oh, Jesus, what is wrong with you? You guys are...
I'll take Can't Sing for $500, please.
That's the mystery connection.
I'll bet you guys like Bruce Springsteen.
No. No, I never cared for Bruce.
I think he's terrible.
I never cared for Bruce. My husband will be in here. He'll say the same thing. Immediate change the channel. Never liked them.
Yeah. I mean, I liked My Hometown from Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah, I like My Hometown.
Yeah, it's a good, I mean, it's good songs. You know what I mean?
I love Peter Gabriel. Soul's asking about Peter Gabriel. Peter Gabriel and the whole world music thing was very, very, I mean, especially the stuff. I often will gauge an artist by the music he played that nobody ever got to hear. And 90% of the stuff that I think made Gabriel amazing was stuff that nobody would ever hear.
So even American Girl, like it's a classic. That's like Americana.
Well, thank you for joining us on the Three View Mirror. We'll see you here next week.
Now we got Eric Clapton is pretty awful. Oh my God, what is happening right now?
I love our audience. The truth comes out.
They don't hold anything back.
Someone lost their virginity to Breakdown.
Apparently, Dee likes Tom Petty, so there you go.
Well, she doesn't have to like him necessarily to make that comment.
Might not have been a great experience. You never know.
Happened to be playing on the radio.
You guys got me crying. Oh.
I mean, okay, American Girl, I can at least associate with a movie I love, Silence of the Lambs, because that's the last thing that the girl heard before being thrown in a pit. And possibly made her thankful that she was tossed in the pit because at least Tom Petty wasn't singing anymore.
Oh my God.
She had to consider whether she should really break the puppy's bones or whether he should do that. Should I stay here if he's going to turn it on again? I don't know.
Johnny says, what the fuck are you talking about? American Girl is Americana. I don't know if that's agreeing with you or disagreeing with you.
No,
I don't know how to read that.
But to me, it is.
Is he saying it is Americana, or why are you saying it is Americana?
I think he's saying, why am I saying? I'm like, American Girl. So there's a song called Wildflowers, too. If you haven't listened to Tom Petty, like, I mean, he wrote some great stuff, and not the stuff that was on the radio, like over and over again, like I Won't Back Down and that kind of stuff. I'm more focused on the stuff that he did that wasn't necessarily always on the radio.
Well, somebody said Christmas All Over Again. Was that Tom Petty or was that Dylan? Who sang Christmas All Over Again? It's Christmas all over again.
I didn't like that either.
Again. I don't like that. But somebody said that because to me their voices are somewhat similar. That gave all the profits to charity for like the lifetime of the song, which I think is pretty cool. I mean, like I said, these people are amazing and they're artists and they're doing their art. But it's kind of like that. Some of the art that you see that brings $1 million and you're going, Jesus, I could have done that in my basement, like on a drunk Thursday, you know?
I'll donate if they stop singing.
Well, I will tell you, there's a movie called She's the One.
Okay.
It's kind of an independent movie, came out in like 1996. It was, I think, with Jennifer Aniston and Cameron Diaz, but you know, they weren't quite huge yet. And then it also had Ed Burns and the guy who played Frasier's dad. I always forget his name. But it's a really good, it's a good like independent film. And he did the soundtrack to that. And those are probably songs you haven't heard. And so I would say if you hate Tom Petty, then you probably won't even watch this. But if you're willing to give it a chance, there's some pretty good music in that soundtrack that Tom Petty wrote and performed.
Well, let me ask you, Chris, what was it? I would give you the floor at this moment. What was it about Tom Petty, though, that you did love? Because we're over here jacking your change, you know what I mean? But like, what did you love about him?
He was a singer, songwriter, musician. And those aren't as common as we think. A lot of the people who are great singers didn't write. They didn't play instruments. A lot of the people who played instruments didn't sing. They didn't write. There's very few people that wrote, sang, and were able to play that music on a particular instrument. And I find that incredibly talented.
I do
And
too. I just don't think Tom Petty falls into that.
I do. I think
couldn't
he's
even
incredibly
finish.
talented. I think he's amazingly talented. And I would argue that his voice is better than Bruce Springsteen's. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, if we're going to talk about guys that have a big library of music, and they both do,
Yeah.
and I would say like he's, you know, did he have the
He
greatest?
has a voice that I think, like Dylan. I think Dylan's voice is god awful, but I can see where somebody might like the effect of his voice. It's not a traditionally, it's not a traditional singing voice.
Thank you,
But
Kristen.
it's just not my. It's not my taste.
Thank you, Kristen. Stop Dragging My Heart Around with Stevie Nicks is a pretty good damn song, and it's a pretty good duet.
I'm
I
looking
like
down.
half of it.
I pulled out my phone then, and I'm looking at like because I wasn't excuse me, a Tom Petty fan. I'm pulling out my thing, and and I'm like, oh, that's right. He sang Mary Jane's Last Dance. Oh yeah, I know that song. And then I'm going down through, and I'm like, I Won't Back Down. Oh yeah, I know that. The songs are all there, but I have to do a recall because since I wasn't a fan, I can't pull those songs right out of my head.
They got a lot of airtime. I mean, the songs you mentioned got a lot of airtime. They were on over and over and over again for sure. There's no way you didn't come across them.
Yeah.
I think somebody named A actually just put it perfectly and said it a lot better than I could say it.
What did he say?
It said guitar-driven, straight-up rock and roll. His ability to tell a story with the lyrics was second to none. And the tone of his voice might be polarizing, but read the lyrics and you'll understand. That's for me. Like I really appreciate the storytellers, and we don't have them anymore. The people that told stories through their music. I mean, maybe they're out there. Maybe I'm missing them. Maybe there's some great people doing that, but there's some great. They were great storytellers, and I love when people tell a story in their music instead of finding a beat.
I'm looking here, and he's been active since the 70s. I'm looking at the years of the songs, active since the 70s, but I seem to see a lot of radio played songs in the late 80s to the like mid 90s were a lot of the radio play songs that I think most of the people could like recall some of these, a lot of people in this room. And that might be what turned me against it, is because at that point in my life, at that age, I was totally away from that kind of music, and it annoyed me. And so, but I can appreciate a lot of it. Would you say those were his most active years, or has he been consistent all along?
Those were his most active years, I would say, although he had a lot in the 2000s. And I also would say that he's, like I said before, She's the One, the movie She's the One. Yeah. I would recommend people just YouTube the soundtrack for She's the One and give it a shot. If you still don't like him, that's great, but he's a hell of a storyteller. And that's what I like in music. I like people that are good at telling stories.
Well, but I think there was somebody put up a point, and I threw it up there. Gabriel, even Collins, you could say, was a storyteller. There were, I think, a lot of the 80s, even throughout different genres. You could listen to hard rock. You can listen to top 40. You can listen to country. I think it was a unique period of time when stories were told a lot more than they are today. I think every genre in the 80s, I think you saw and heard a lot more storytelling than you do today. And again, it might be that we don't listen as much now. But even I'm pretty active on TikTok, and TikTok as a platform uses a lot of popular music from the day. So I'm still exposed to a lot of it, and it's just not there.
Yeah, and Cindy said Jim Croce was a great storyteller. True, like this was like the time of the storytellers in the late 70s and early 80s. And that's what I like. And also, not for nothing, but everybody's talking about like he looks like Tales from the Crypt or whatever. Like, and it's funny, but you got to think about his look and lead and front men and front women for bands. He had to work a little bit harder if you look at some of the people. And I'm just saying like that, I give him credit because he didn't back away from being
maybe, but ugly was acceptable, I think, more back then. Okay, I can name lots more ugly, traditionally ugly. Yeah, I mean, Bob Dylan for a point was not a looker. I mean, I don't think for women, different story, especially entering the 90s. The 80s and the 70s gave them a little attitude. By the time you hit the 90s, forget it. You had videos that were actually replacing women by the 90s, they would play their voices, but they'd put a different person up on the video to not show them because they weren't what they wanted as a look. But I think the 70s and 80s were a little more, especially the 70s, forgiving of that aspect, especially for men. Women, maybe a different story.
They did that with Phoebe and Smelly Cat too.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
But they, no, that I agree with that. And I think you're right in the sense that I think about some of the front men and front women who were super attractive. But then if I go back and I look at like who was the most powerful front woman in the 80s and late 70s, into the early 80s and mid 80s. And for me, it was Joan Jett. And, super powerful, but
very.
Yeah. So I just.
What are you saying? Joan Jett was ugly?
I'm saying Joan Jett was a little different than like Nancy Wilson from Heart.
Yeah, I guess she didn't go out but she had an edge. That wasn't her thing. But I think she's still. If you take her at the end of the Breakfast Club and take off the black eyeliner like they did Ali Sheedy, maybe she could have had a moment.
Well, Ali Sheedy looked better with the black eyeliner.
I know she did. That's my point.
Yeah. No,
that was a glow down.
She looked great just the way she was.
Exactly.
Wasn't She's the One also a movie like that where it was like the ugly girl takes off the black eyeliner, suddenly she's pretty?
No. I think you're thinking of no, that was like 2000s when they would do all of the.
She's the One was 90s. That's Usher's in it. Okay. But ugly meant that she had glasses in her hair and a ponytail.
Right.
Literally all they did in that movie.
Trope. It wasn't that trope that John always talks about tropes. It wasn't that trope of the guy or girl that was the the geek or whatever, but really wasn't. Undercover was not.
That's what she's the girl. Yeah. That's she's the one or whatever. That's what they did on that one.
It was not that. Yes, Joan Jett was a huge Orioles fan. I grew up in Baltimore, so I know this. Yeah. Maybe I should have done Joan Jett instead of Tom Petty.
Lita Ford was good to look at.
Yeah, she's still beautiful.
Yeah, I haven't seen her recently, but
she looks great. Okay, so I guess we abused my first topic enough, so we can get on to the second topic. And Joan Jett was no Mama Cass. Oh my God. Okay, well, we can have that conversation. So we can move on to the second topic that everybody apparently hates, and that is Nicolas Cage.
The bees. It was the bees. Wasn't that from the like his worst movie ever? The Scarecrow Man. What the hell is that movie name? It was like the worst movie ever, where there was this big stick figure and he was in this cult.
God, I know what you're talking about. It was a horror movie. I know. It's like it's a superstition. It's a legend.
Yes, and he's going, it's the bees. It's the bees. Like
the Wicker Man.
Wicker Man. Yes, Wicker Man.
I'm not talking about the Wicker Man. I mean, look, you don't have to like Nicolas Cage, but
Cage.
But Valley Girl, Raising Arizona, Fast Times, Gone in 60 Seconds, The Rock, Con Air, National Treasure, Face Off. These are like, I mean, I think
Captain Corelli's Mandolin.
I mean, I love The Rock. I love Con Air. Con Air is one of my favorite action movies.
Leaving Las Vegas.
I
think that was a fantastic movie. It had
Ghost Rider.
I don't remember Ghost Rider.
I didn't miss much.
A lot of actors did bad movies, but he did some good ones.
But
Raising Arizona is a classic.
Dude, I just love the look on your face when I throw these. If you could reach through the screen and throw punch me, I'd be face down behind me right now.
I like throw punching people, so
I'm aware. And right now, I'm glad there's about 400 miles between.
Thankfully, I don't get paid to do that anymore. So
I appreciate. I actually. At times he's an over actor, and that gets on my nerves. Okay, when he's really overacting and using his, I'm Nick Cage, but he is prolific. And many of the movies that he's been in, I have completely enjoyed. Con Air is a riot. I love Con Air. That is a great movie. I'm a huge Steve Buscemi fan. I love Steve Buscemi. Yeah, I love him. I think he's fantastic. Speaking of not attractive people who suddenly become attractive because they are just so good. But Nick Cage, I think he said yes to every contract he's ever gotten, and that watered down his career to the point where now he becomes sort of a butt of a joke kind of a thing. But he is. To me, he's a talented actor when he's not just like, hey, I'm here to get a paycheck. I'm going to overact this. I'm Nick Cage. I put my name on the screen. And so now we're going to pull in the bucks, because Nick Cage is in the movie.
Yeah, he definitely became a caricature. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
But when he first started rolling, I mean, like I said, Valley Girl and Con Air, Valley Girl, Con Air, Raising Arizona, The Rock. I mean, some of them were big action movies. I mean, say what you will, but I love National Treasure because I love the whole concept. I think the concept is so cool, and I wish they would have kept doing them because they were fun. It was like they were fun movies, and I miss those kind of fun movies like that.
The one on Alcatraz, the Rock. That was a very fun movie. That's a movie you could watch again and again, even though you know the outcome, because it was just set up so well. I mean, the action flowed. Same with Con Air. It just, the action flowed. It was good. They were just good movies.
I liked Kick-Ass as well, if you never saw Kick-Ass. But the thing about Nicolas Cage is, like, he had this moment where he was oversaturated. He was taking, as you said, everything that was thrown in front of him clearly. But here he is actually making fun of himself now and doing a really good job of it. If you've seen The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, it's really just him making fun of himself.
Does Tom Petty sing in it?
I ain't watching it then.
But they do talk about beaches. So
all right, well, now you're talking some real talent.
But yes, it's but he came. Oh, Moonstruck. Somebody mentioned Moonstruck. I totally forgot.
Oh yeah.
But if you go back, if you watch this movie, I think it just came out last year or 2 years ago. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, and he's literally just making fun of himself. And there was one that he did recently. Like, he started to come back around. I forgot that he was in Peggy Sue Got Married as well.
Yeah.
And he did a movie called Pig, which
I heard of that. Was it good?
Intense.
I doubt it.
No, here's the problem though. By the time that's a horror movie, is it not? Thriller?
No, it's about a guy who he loses his prize pig. It sounds ridiculous on the surface, but it's actually a really good movie. And he's like, I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's good. It's not great, but it's good.
I saw that, and I think I read what the premise was, and I was like, why do I want to watch this? And it has Nick Cage with a pig kind of a thing. And I think I skipped it because of that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know he's like very polarizing, but as we start talking about his resume, I think hopefully you guys are seeing like some pretty good movies. The Cotton Club.
Here's the problem with Nick Cage, and I think Shell hit it. If he stuck to the premise that I'm only going to do things I'm good at, he'd have been great. Yeah. Unfortunately, he took on roles he had no business taking. Like, I joked about Captain Morelli's mandolin, but if you're Greek, you were forced to see it because it's about the Italian soldiers that occupied the Greek islands. And his accent throughout the entire movie, he may be able to do a lot of things in acting. I don't know. One thing he cannot do is affect an Italian accent throughout the entire film. It goes in and out worse than Kevin Costner in Robin Hood. It was just bad. He just, and like I said, yes, Fast Times, yes, Con Air, National, the things he did well, he did well. He just should have stuck to it. But to Shell's point, if there was a paycheck waved in his face, he was all over it. Now, the Superman, you can see some early shots of the Superman movie that he was supposed to make. It was god awful. The hairpiece they had to put on him, how he eat. It's embarrassing, and yet he was willing to do it for a paycheck, and he's a huge Superman fan. Huge. So I think his son's name is Kal-El.
Well, I think, and I don't want to but I'm pretty sure there was a conversation about him having some money troubles at one point.
Probably.
He lost a lot of money to a scam financial advisor or something, and he was taking every role possible to try to just basically stay afloat.
Yeah.
And
I believe that.
I had heard that. I don't know if that's actually true, but
yeah.
No, he was in Pig. Somebody said, John said I was confused. He was in Pig.
I said you were confused?
No. Somebody in the comments said, I think he's confused.
No, I thought you were confused in the first segment when you said Nicolas Cage was a national treasure.
Pig. Yeah. No, he was actually in Pig. Yeah.
Somebody said, Dorian said, is he in Beaches? Probably. Yeah, they said he took the extra roles so he could stay out of jail.
He has a beautiful house in the Bahamas, apparently. He hasn't invited me. If he does, maybe I'll change my opinion.
Yeah. Hey, Nick.
Hey, I can be bought. And we haven't mentioned it. It's come up in the comments a lot of times. Common knowledge, he's a Coppola.
Yeah.
Francis Ford is his uncle.
Yeah, I think he was Nicolas Coppola.
Yeah.
And to his credit, I think he got rid of the name because he didn't. And again, I'm assuming this. I think I've heard it somewhere. But then again, I thought Stouffer's made stovetop stuffing, so I could be wrong on just about anything. But I think he changed the name because he didn't just want to ride on the coattails of his name, which everything else aside, man, you got to respect the hell out of that. If I had a famous last name, I'm not so sure I'd be giving it up.
Well,
Katrides isn't famous in Greece?
No.
You're like, no.
No, it's a very rare name, even there. Do you know I'm the only John Katrides in the country?
You did say that once.
Yep, only one of me.
Yeah.
You have another Rochelle Oblak, but she's a criminal, right?
Yes, because her name is actually Amy and her middle name is Rochelle. So if you search down my name online, you will find this like somebody like 20 something that, is like a criminal or something.
Has an OnlyFans page. She's blonde, but it's not Rochelle.
But it ain't me.
Yeah, somebody mentioned when he played the angel, and it was City of Angels.
Yes.
I forgot about that one.
That I will say,
great soundtrack.
That is kind of my beaches. Like I will watch that when it's on.
I can see that.
It's a really, it's a great story, and yeah, that I would say that's probably my beaches. City of Angels.
Good soundtrack. Goo Goo Dolls from Buffalo.
Are they?
Yeah. Yeah, I waited on the Goo Goo Dolls a couple times before they got really big.
Nice.
That's right.
Nice guys, good tippers. They can hold their liquor.
Yeah, I'm glad somebody brought up him playing the angel because I totally forgot. City of Angels, man. That's one I got to watch again now. Ooh, when I'm in the right mood for it.
Sam Elliott is eternally every now and then I'll see something come through the comments and I'm like, what have I missed that came on? Sam Elliott is eternally the sexiest man ever.
That goes way back to Patrick Swayze, Sam Elliott, Roadhouse, kind of a thing there. Like his voice and he's just a man's man. He's manly, You got
but where did that tie into?
I have no idea.
It's just kind of out there.
I said it had a life of its own. Ghost Rider because of Sam Elliott.
And Ghost Rider. Somebody said they enjoyed Ghost Rider.
It wasn't great, but it wasn't as bad as Green Lantern. Which
I didn't really hate Green Lantern.
Green Lantern was my favorite superhero growing up, and I'm like, how can they do it for me?
One of mine too.
Yeah.
No, I think
I was waiting for the Sinestro second. I mean, he ruined I wanted to see the next one. They set up Sinestro perfect, and then there was never a part 2.
I think they are doing it now, though.
Tom Petty's son. I made it up. I could have sworn he had named someone after Superman. Maybe it wasn't. No, not Tom Petty. We're talking about Nicolas Cage now. I think Nicolas Cage's son is Kal-El, which is Superman's Kryptonian name.
Oh, is it? It is?
Yeah, Kal-El Coppola. Kal-El is his son's name. And Kal-El is the Kryptonian name for Superman. So being a huge comic book geek, I love that part. His son's probably not real proud of him. I mean, happy about it. What's your name? Oh, don't ask.
Don't ask.
I will say that
my dad is Nick Cage. My dad's Nick Cage.
I will say there was one movie like you were talking about how it was Tim Burton's I think Superman Lives that they were in it and it ended up not happening, which is a good thing. But I also I'm glad that he actually dropped out of the movie The Wrestler because what the hell? Oh
I don't know, but Bo is my favorite person now.
Are you watching or are you just listening?
Does it matter?
Bo's doing this now. He's like,
that's my new screensaver. I'm gonna caption that. And Mom, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. I also thought, but I was glad that when he talked about Superman Lives, because there was another movie that he dropped out of that ended up being a great movie, and I don't think he would have been able to pull it off. It was The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke, and he was initially he was going to be that part, and then he dropped out because he couldn't give the time to it, and it ended up being Mickey Rourke, and that's a really depressing movie, but it's a really good one. The Wrestler. If it's dark, but it's good.
Mickey Rourke's
Back
pretty
to
cool. I like Mickey
JTR,
Rourke.
you know about 0 hour arcs? I just found another comic book dork. That makes me very happy. One of my favorite story arcs in comic books. Anyway.
Never heard of it.
Yeah. Okay.
No, you wouldn't have.
All right.
40
So
minutes in.
we got through Nicolas Cage a little better than Tom Petty. So that was
bit.
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah. So now the final one, hopefully, except for John, who hates the smell, the intoxicating smell of Ditto paper.
I didn't smell it. Let me go back real quick. I think it just too much of a good thing. Maybe I just remember it making me sick, like because it permeated the entire classroom.
Oh
and
yeah,
it was probably toxic.
Oh yeah,
well, 100%,
100%. I don't know what was in it, but all I know is that blue, like, and then if you touch the Ditto, I mean, can you remember your teachers when they did lay the fresh Ditto sheets down on the table? Like, a lot of them would tell you, like, don't pick it up yet because your fingers were going to be all blue, you know? And
mine was purple.
Purple blue, royal blue. Yeah. Yeah.
Purple. Yeah. I mean, I almost like between that and the scratch and sniff stickers.
Yeah.
I just remember like that was the only positive thing about a pop quiz was that we were going to get the Ditto paper.
Well, and I was confused. I didn't realize until I did some Gen X era research that Dittos and mimeograph were two different things. Similar, but two different machines that produce two different warm pieces of paper with two slightly different smells. But both were awesome. And it was just an early form of Xeroxing. But I mentioned that I got to be the kid to go down and get the copies. And someone in the comments in our virtually live studio audience said that was like a huge honor to be the kid that got to go to the office and run a. Now, either there were two standards. You could be the kid that the teacher said, listen, Shell, I've got some things that need to be, could you go down and run the Dittos? And then there was the kid that would go get them if they were already done, because it took a while for them to dry and stuff. And that got you out of class for a few minutes. You got to run down the hallways. I always liked that.
I didn't get picked.
Janet said she came late. The three topics are Tom Petty, Nicolas Cage, and the intoxicating smell of Ditto paper.
And not just the smell, the feel. The paper had a very distinct texture, and it was warm. You could just put it up against your. It had a very specific, and we all did. We put it right up against our faces. And again, I just did it maybe too much. That huffing, it just made me sick.
And the teachers, they were using a typewriter to type out these quizzes. And a lot of times, the Ditto sheet, the master sheet that they used over and over again, they would carefully save both sides of it for the quiz that they would replicate again the following year. I can remember some of this stuff, and they would save it, but they would, if there was a typo on it, it was just X's over it because you couldn't go back. There was no going backwards. And so a lot of times if they weren't very good, there were these blurry X's next to your math problem of 7 + 2, and you couldn't quite tell if it was a 7 because if you remember, they were so purple blur that how many, yeah.
They were not smudge resistant.
No, they were smudged everywhere. And, it was, yeah.
But the smell was it didn't last. It was kind of like when you put a piece of fruit stripe.
It didn't last because it leapt off the page into the air around us. I mean, it did permeate the classroom without a doubt.
It was like when
do you guys know why we did Dittos? Why they were so common?
I know you were going to say fruit stripe.
No, a big part of why the Dittos exist is most of our schools were underfunded. So they would order one of something and then just illegally reproduce it and hand it out to the rest of the class. Some of these Dittos were nothing more than a workbook problem that was just replicated. So they'd buy one of the workbook and just put Dittos off of it instead of buying multiple workbooks. Again, especially us older Gen Xers that grew up in the 70s, the entire world was broke.
Oh, yeah.
So we used Dittos as a cheap way to reproduce the one or two workbooks that the school would actually buy and then just replicate them illegally over and over again.
And, it was a powder, too. There was a barrel of powder that went into the machine. It wasn't. I know that some of them were like that because I've seen it. But what I remember too was that big drum just spinning.
Yeah.
And you could hear that the sheets just going, and it was almost exciting. I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say earlier that the smell lasted as long as a one stick of fruit stripe gum that we had. The scratch and sniff stickers actually lasted longer. Those were delicious smelling.
Yeah, they were. Or the pens, the Smensels, like the pens and the markers, and then there was always that kid with like 3 dots of marker on the edge of his nose.
Everything we grew up with was about sniffing things that were logically, honestly, probably highly toxic.
Yes.
The rubber cement with the stopper, that was amazing.
Loved that.
Loved it.
Glue booger.
I would huff it until I could taste it into the back of my throat. It would go from my nose. I could almost hear it. Ear, nose, and throat all connected. Mm-hmm. It was a multi-sensory joy.
Mm-hmm. and rubber cement made the greatest, especially the one with the screw top with the little brush at the end of it. And it made the greatest glue boogers. There were always boogers all the way around. No glue boogers, you know what I mean? All the way around. The dried rubber cement looked exactly like a booger. I'm just saying. They did.
All
this
stuff
has been brought to you by another episode of Life in Rural Pennsylvania.
All stuff that you could get at Scholastic Book Fair.
Yeah. That someone else in the comments had wrote, there's nothing like putting volatile chemicals in the hands of elementary schoolers. You know, why not, right?
Well, and maybe this is the difference between the mimeograph and the Ditto machine, because one of them used actual chemicals. I remember large vats of chemicals being next to the machine, and I got to pour it in every now and again. And if you think the smell on the paper, maybe this is why I was the one that got sick. I remember pouring it in directly from the source. And I got to tell you, I just remember waking up wandering around the school always on more than one occasion, just wondering where the hell I was and what I was doing. I was born with many more brain cells than I currently have possession of. It's not me says, hey, everyone, sorry I'm late. I guess they picked the wrong week to stop sniffing boogly.
See, there are people in this comment section that absolutely know what I'm talking about. We just don't bring it up. We don't bring up boogers in polite company.
Well, and somebody mentioned the permanent markers and how good they smelled, and I made the mistake of thinking that they were talking about like Sharpie permanent markers. But then I just got a flash of memory, the silver canister permanent markers. I'd completely forgotten about those, and it literally just unlocked that memory. Those were the ones that had the real smell.
They had a head on them like this when the teacher would use them. I mean, they were... Sorry. I did the gesture.
The fact that you held it up to your mouth.
Oh my God, now I'm crying again. I'm sorry.
Okay, we're not going to discuss that any further.
Okay.
Chris has corporate accounts that pay him to go, and we're just going to move on.
We're just moving on. Oh, you can't take me.
I'm not putting any comments on the screen. Stop it.
That's what she said.
She certainly did.
Oh God, that could be a meme. Oh my God, I'm crying. Oh, stop.
Okay, this I can throw. Okay, here we go. Okay. Yes, the big metal ones. So, yes. Looks like we all picked the wrong day to quit huffing markers. That's got to be a highlight. We need a replay. Listen, there's so many, and this you guys consider yourself. Scott says you did that for a reason. All right. What are we talking about? So about that Tom Petty.
Back to Tom Petty.
A
But
lot
don't
of
mind me.
stuff.
Wait,
When I think back to the way we grew up, it is 1,000% sights and memories, but those memories are sights, sounds, and smells. It is a completely like experience across the board. And I don't know that that's the case. Today, kids don't even have, we had the smell of chalk. We had the smell of markers. We had the smell of glue. We had the smell of, they have whiteboards and laptops in class.
mhm.
I mean, they don't, I mean, pencil shavings, a very specific smell over by the pencil sharpener.
Pencil sharpener,
None of that
yeah.
exists anymore.
Mhm.
I mean, think of all the experiences in terms of sensory experiences that don't exist because of that. The whiteboard doesn't smell like anything. You know, we could smell the overhead projector heating up.
Mhm.
The fan would blow. I mean, there's so many things like that. That, to be honest, Chris, I love that. As much as I mocked you for your first two categories, this one has awoken so many memories in me, and probably because Wirehead says smell is one of the most powerful memory stimulants for humans.
Mhm.
And even without smelling it, just thinking back to it has completely and totally like it's. This third topic was the one for me.
Yeah. I love these topics like this. The smells too, you know, that there was always, I don't know, even like you think about in high school, like it was like the Jacquard Noir, you know what I mean? And then it was like the penny loafers were in, and somebody always wore their penny loafers without socks, and their feet stunk, and they stuck them underneath of your chair, and you smelled it all day long. You know, these things actually bring back a good memory, even if it's a terrible smell or whatever. They all bring back good memories.
Cool water.
Cool Water by Davidoff.
For me, it was Polo and Drakkar Noir. Every boy in school wore one or the other. Obsession came out a little later.
Yeah.
Girls always changed constantly, but boys lived and died. Polo was huge.
I'm still going through.
Well, yeah, the asking the teacher to get clacking the erasers at recess.
Yes.
Ooh,
Yes.
you're doing that, you know.
Yes.
I could have made it. That could have turned out bad too. I think
that was Zarina that said that. That's like, I totally forgot about that.
But you can smell it.
You would even take the chalk and you would make it even more so that you could get more powder out of it. I don't know why. But.
Do you remember when the teacher, when they were getting ready to teach you how to do handwriting? Okay. And they say round, ready, right. And she had that chalkboard thing with all the lines on it.
I loved playing with that thing. When we played school during recess, it had like the holders for the one, and it would make the straight line, dotted line, straight line for us to practice our cursive on. I absolutely remember that. Robert, because we are all Gen X fire starters, pencil sharpener shavings are great fire starters. Don't ask me how I know.
So were rolls of caps.
Oh, yeah.
Rock.
Holy moly. Very cool, man.
All right. So we talked about Tom Petty, Nicolas Cage, and the intoxicating smell of Ditto paper.
I think we all know this one, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I'll be shocked if most people don't get it. I always say that an episode is engaged on whether or not the topic's easy to put together or hard. It's on the quality of the content. And the content of the show, you made it an awesome show. So I do know. Shell, I'm assuming you know.
No.
What?
I don't.
I can't believe you don't know because you did a TikTok on this.
Yeah, you should
Maybe I do, and I'm not. And my brain's just not putting it together. I
really am shocked you haven't gotten it.
I was doing some research, and your TikTok came up.
My TikTok came up
on some research I did. Yep.
So asking our live studio audience, and Kevin, I know you were dying to say it at the beginning, and you held on, so we'll give you the reveal.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I did do that.
So Tom Petty, American Girl, was featured in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Nicolas Cage was an actor in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And the scene you did your TikTok on was on the Ditto paper where the kids
Ditto paper, where they all smelled the Ditto paper. Yeah, I knew. Damn it. 0 points.
I had to get
0 points.
I didn't see the movie forever. It took. I literally have not seen that movie until what was it? About 3 weeks ago. I finally got a chance to see it because you guys busted me so long. I thought for sure you'd have it.
No, it's been so many years since I seen it. The connection just flew right over my head.
And there's so many connections in Fast Times as well. So you have like Cameron Crowe, who wrote it, and he went undercover in high school in LA to write it at 24 years old, went undercover as a high school student to write it. So all the characters are based on real characters in the movie. In fact, the guy that was Mark Ratner, the geeky kid who's trying to get the girl, he was based on a character who went on and wrote the books for dummies.
Oh,
yeah. You know what? I knew that too. Somewhere in the back of my brain.
And then you had, Nick Cage was actually Nicolas Coppola in the movie. He was not 18, so they had to film his stuff in a certain amount of hours. They had to do it. They had to kind of really try to wrap it up, do his scenes together. Then you have Amy Heckerling, who actually directed it, who then went on to direct Clueless and the kind of 90s Fast Times. And Amy Heckerling lived in the same building as Judge Reinhold, who was waiting tables at the time and doing some acting. He was in the music video Shadows of the Night, Pat Benatar. If you go back and watch, you'll see Judge Reinhold in Shadows of the Night. So there's all these really interesting connections. And Judge Reinhold, they wanted Sean Penn to do the part of Bradley Hamilton and Judge Reinhold to be Spicoli. And when they both auditioned, it totally flipped because Sean Penn wanted Spicoli, and he's like, I'm an audition for Spicoli. I don't give a shit. And that's what he did. There's some really interesting connections. And of course, the soundtrack is spectacular, as so many 80s movie soundtracks were. I think The Cars Moving in Stereo has a place in every guy's brain with that scene with Phoebe Cates. That song will always have a spot in my head. Nick played Tom Petty in the Devious Ones. Oh,
that's why doing Pesca.
Yeah, so Fast Times was, and of course Forrest Whitaker. I mean, the cast, some of the people that had smaller roles in Fast Times obviously went on to do huge things. Jennifer Jason Leigh, Phoebe Cates, Forrest Whitaker, Sean Penn, and then interestingly enough, two of the guys that were kind of the leads, Mike Damone and Mark Ratner, really didn't do too much afterwards.
No. Mm-hmm. It was an ensemble cast for sure. People coming and going and moving throughout the movie and just adding to it, much like our high schools were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some made it, some didn't, some bigger than others,
Some girls are bigger than others. The Smiths. So and so they had also with the I lost my train of thought with the soundtrack. I'll come back to it. But the movie itself, I mean, we talk a lot about, Shell froze there like she was asleep.
I did?
Yeah, you froze with your eyes closed. Yeah. Yeah. But I think, again, like when we talk about certain things that kind of really made their mark in the 80s, there may have been coming of age movies, and there certainly were, like The Graduate and others before the 80s. But Fast Times really put these high school coming of age movies on the map. I mean, yes, there was Porky's before it, but after Fast Times came out and the success of it, and also, by the way, from a business perspective, Vans, which had been around since 1966, when Spicoli put those checkerboard Vans on his feet, that was it. Vans just, I mean, they changed forever in terms of being this kind of Southern California company and then being nationwide.
You were skater edge anyway. You were a skater kid, right? If I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, I had checkerboard Vans. Yeah.
So I wasn't. So I was more of a preppy. I might have been the kid Rochelle was mentioning was wearing the shoes without the socks underneath the chair. Might have been me.
Penny loafers.
Yeah.
The what was the other ones? The boat shoes. Docksiders. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Vans were, I saw them because I was 12 when Fast Times came out, and I bought a $2 ticket to go see E.T. and snuck into Vans. I snuck into Fast Times, which was the greatest decision of my 12-year-old life, and on a number of levels. But then I saw the checkerboard Vans, and I had them within 6 months. I was like, I got to have these Vans. Like, I was washing dishes. Should not have had that job, by the way, getting paid $2 an hour, $2.13 an hour to wash dishes at a restaurant. But I wanted to buy Vans, and my parents were like, well, then you get a job. And so I got a job washing dishes at a restaurant and got my checkerboard Vans.
I love my Chucks. I love Chucks.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I could never. I like the look of Chucks. I certainly couldn't wear them now. It's like cardboard on your feet. There's no support
There's
at all.
nothing. But it was
hard
Chucks, and
plastic
then
on
you
the bottom, and
pinrolled
that's
your
it.
jeans. Yeah.
Yeah.
You pinrolled your jeans up to the top of them.
Although I have a pair of Vans now. I've got a pair of canvas Vans, but I was like 49, 50 years old before I ever bought Vans. So I was a little late to the party.
Now it's the what's a shoe everyone has now? Like a Van, the slip-ons. What's the name?
Olakawas?
Oh, maybe those dad things. What are they called?
I don't know what.
I know the ones you mean. Dad.
They're slipping my brain.
I can't wear them. So my daughters hate me because they say I'm the one they got my feet. I've got the thinnest feet on the face of the planet. I have no heel. So unless something can be tied on, it's going to fall right off. So I could never wear anything like that. Even penny loafers, I was constantly losing them off my feet. I just don't have a heel to hold on to shoes. And my daughters are like, it's because of you we can't wear heels. Like, it could be worse. You could have wide-ass Flintstone feet. I know exactly what you're talking about. I can't wear them either. They just have like the laces are there, but just for show. They're just along the front.
I don't know why I can't even think of the Hey Dudes. Yeah, the Hey Dudes.
Hey dudes. I kept saying dad. I knew it was something dad or dude.
Yeah. Hey
I did have Bobos.
Yeah.
So Luck said, Luck, you're speaking my language with Gleam in the Cube. Yes. Fantastic movie.
Seen
Loved it. Yeah. Yeah. I was a big skateboarder.
Christian Slater.
Gleam in the Cube. Yeah. So I always talk about soundtracks too, and I know we have some music people in the comments. I mean, this was like just the artists on the soundtrack, again, going back to the 80s. Jackson Browne, Don Henley, Joe Walsh, Oingo Boingo, Billy Squire, Stevie Nicks, The Go-Go's, Graham Nash, Quarter Flash, Jimmy Buffett, Sammy Hagar, Poco, The Cars, The Go-Go's, Tom Petty, yeah, Joe Walsh, again with Glenn Frey, Jimmy Page, Led Zeppelin. I mean, that's like, are you kidding me? All on one soundtrack.
Yeah. I wore K-Swiss. I was a tennis kid, so I had K-Swiss sneakers. Those were actual tennis. When people say tennis shoes, K-Swiss started as tennis sneakers. That was like their thing.
Yeah.
Chris, you've taught me a lot just doing our podcast. Like I watched just this 3 days ago, I was watching Less Than Zero again, just because I wanted to pop it up, and I was listening as much as I was watching, because I've often you talk about that soundtrack specifically, and LL Cool J, and just the vast amount of not just different artists. It's one thing to have different artists on a music soundtrack, but that's the definition of a soundtrack, is that there's different artists. It's the different genres that just blow my mind, and they still come together to make one album, and it fits.
Yeah, anytime you could have LL Cool J and Danzig on the same soundtrack, along with the Bangles.
Yeah,
like that's diversity in a soundtrack right there.
Oingo Boingo.
Yeah, so I mean, I was wearing British Knights. I have to admit, I had my BKs.
King of soundtrack was Kenny Loggins. Kenny Loggins lived and died in soundtracks. What's that?
He was on every soundtrack.
Yeah, he was.
But I don't know. Like, that's not my.
Yeah, no, listen, we also are the generation. I think our generation loved to take shots. Rochelle, you are a classic example of this, of taking shots at the norm, taking shots at pop music. If it got to a certain level of popularity, we almost didn't want anything to do with it. It wasn't cool anymore. So we were always looking for that subversive culture, that alternative. I was okay with pop music, but I do remember pretending I wasn't as okay with it. I wouldn't have a Phil Collins poster on my wall of my high school. I mean, that would have been suicide.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But you liked him, and you would like.
I liked him.
Yeah, yeah.
But that wasn't the band concert that would never make it onto a wall. Even if I never listened to Metallica, Metallica's the poster I put up.
So
until they sold out.
So what pop song would you back in the day have rolled the windows up to sing in your car because you didn't want anybody to know?
I don't know, more than a couple of a lot of Billy Joel, a lot of Phil Collins. I like the musicality of Collins. I really did. It was easy to dance to. It had a good beat, and I love the fact that he had like entire orchestras playing on his songs. There was a lot of horns. I just like that sound.
Shell?
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be afraid, honestly, to roll down my windows and let the next car next to me, see me singing some weird
Like
song.
You Can't Hurry Love by Phil Collins had that beat. Da, 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 da. I mean, I would be in a great mood just singing that out loud, but the windows had better be way the hell up.
Somebody said
Wait,
hanging
I know one that I love that is like that really gets my blood going, and it's a newer song though. It's like not too new, but the Chumbawamba song. Like I listened to that song, and that's one of the songs that like I could listen to and just it just feels so upbeat and it makes me happy.
Or I could walk 1,000 when I wake up. Oh, I know I'm gonna be the one that wakes up next to you. It's just there's nothing wrong with songs that are just fun.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to be world changing to be enjoyable.
Kristen
they just have to be able to
mentioned
sing better than Tom Petty.
I would roll up the windows to sing "Naughty Girls Need Love Too." And
I'd lock the
I
door.
love the video.
I don't know about rolling up the windows, Chris, but I'd probably lock the door to my room.
Well, if I was watching the music video, maybe.
Weren't we just talking about? It was an amusement park. He was treating his body like an amusement park.
I come home to find my son using his body like an amusement
park.
It's hit to be square. Somebody mentioned.
These are all I'm looking at. These are all fun songs, though.
Uh-huh.
Debbie Gibson. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Tiffany doing mall concerts. Just too much fun,
I think
man.
we're alone now.
And there's some, like I just did a video not too long ago. There's Bruno Mars did a thing with a Korean star on APT, and it really is doing well on TikTok. But the beats, a lot of Gen Xers are like, I don't know why I like that song so much, but the beat is incredibly reminiscent of Mickey. Like I did a splice where I play the two and I go from one to the other, and you can hear it. It's right there. And some people are like, oh, they're stealing our music. I'm like, no, I don't see it like that. There's only so many notes to put in so many ways. I don't think, are they actually stealing it, or is it just, similar in a good way? If not for David Bowie if not for Pressure, would we have ever gotten Vanilla Ice Ice Baby?
No, we would not.
And I'm glad for both.
To the extreme.
That's another song, though, that honestly, I mean, every time it comes on, I don't turn the channel because I don't know. There's something about that song. Maybe it was the year it came out, and it just his whole look, Do
you know all the words? Can you rap it?
To the extreme, I rock a mic like a vandal.
Light up a stage and wants to jump like a candle.
Dance. I'd have to really practice for it.
Love it. Believe it. You better gang way. You better hit the bullseye. The kid don't play.
No way.
If there's a problem, I'll
solve it. Kick out where the DJ revolves it. So you
baby.
Kick out the beats while the DJ revolves it. Yes.
There we go. Oh God. Okay, that was fun.
Rob Van Winkle. Yep.
Still around. Flipping houses and doing construction work while also going on concert.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, we are at 108:34, so we are officially overtime. This was a great episode. Thank you for being a good sport, Chris. I love it when you let us have some fun at your expense. You are an amazingly good sport. You put up with a lot, and it's just fun.
Well, listen, I still think Principal Vernon is a hero.
No, we'll have to have this audience is not aware of that video. We may have to replay clips of that video one day. It's out there somewhere. Yeah, get ready.
We will be back next week. Same bad time, same bad channel, 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. Bring a friend when I think Rochelle takes the reins.
Yes.
All right, guys. I'll see you guys then. I'm out.
See ya,
everybody.
Have a great week.
Have an awesome week, everybody, and Happy New Year again.
Happy New Year.
I'm not going to – come on. There we go. Ready?
Ready.
There it is. Sheesh.
I don't think it's out yet. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I didn't hit out until after I hit the out.